welcome back to the Unqualified for Space podcast with me, Michael. And this is the show where I talk with people who are much smarter than I am. On this episode, I have Henna and Anna on the show. How are you doing, ladies?
Good.
Great.
I don't think we're smarter than you. We probably just know different stuff.
Debatable.
Exactly.
Semantics, But as usual, in every episode of this show, I like to ask each guest what interested you in space to begin with. So whoever would like to start first can go ahead.
Anna, do you want to take this question first?
Yeah, let's do it. So I got interested in space, I think like many space nerds did. My dad is also a space nerd. He works in the space industry too. When I was a little kid, he painted my room blue, and then he sponged he cut sponges out into the shape of stars and moons and put them all over my bedroom. So I've been destined to love space, since I was a kid. And then I don't know, as I got older, when I was a kid, I wanted to work for NASA. I don't know. I always thought space was just the coolest thing. Who knows what's out there? And I don't know. As an engineer, I think I like it because it's hard.
Something to be said about attaining something that's extremely difficult, right? So.
Yeah, exactly. Keeps things interesting.
Henna, would you like to go next?
Yeah. So, hi everyone. I'm Henna, and what got me interested in space? Well, I think it's two parts. One is space, and one is engineering. So, I think I was always fascinated by space as a child. Just going out and looking at the stars and just being so curious, that really fueled my interest in space.
Mm-hmm.
I had a few internships. I was very lucky. I applied for an internship for NASA in high school. And when I went and interned there, it just being surrounded by all these scientists and having the opportunity to go check out some lectures on space fueled my interest even more. And as for engineering, I think my love for engineering came from my middle school and high school robotics groups. I joined a robotics team. Actually, our high school didn't have one, so a few of my friends and I went and started one. And I remember we were working late one night on this giant robot. It's a 5-foot tall robot in someone's garage. And I just had this epiphany. I'm like, I really want to do this as a career. I wonder if this can be done as a career. And I didn't really know much about what engineering was, but from that, I was able to pick up on the fact that, I think engineering is talking to my friends, and, if I wanted to continue something like that, where I get to collaborate and make designs and watch these designs come to life, that career path was engineering. So that was kind of like a two-part situation. I was interested in space separately and then interested in engineering separately.
I had the very just kind of usual for Florida, not for most people. Obviously
I know you can just watch rocket launches every other day.
Yeah, so I guess it's definitely not usual for most people. It's just usual for us. I saw a shuttle launch as a kid. I wasn't at the Space Center, but because we were late or something trying to get over to it. But we were down the road a few miles, but obviously it doesn't really matter because I'm here in Orlando and we can see the launches, because we're a flat state pretty much. So that's how I got my start. I was 6 years old, saw a shuttle launch, and been hooked ever since.
I'm so jealous. I never got to see a shuttle launch. I can only imagine it was amazing.
Yeah.
I felt the ground vibrating from about 5 miles, we're about 15 miles away. So
it's a powerful thing.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, the boosters were no joke when it was.
Yeah, those SRMs, man, those solid rocket motors, right? That's what the shuttle used. Those are intense.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
Crazy amounts of power coming out, and being about 15 miles away and still feeling the ground shaking. That there's. Don't want to be any closer than that, pretty much, or else you're gonna, have some issues. But.
No, I also think it perfectly illustrates, I think rockets are so beautiful, but they're also dangerous, which is why it's not easy to fly people to space.
Yeah.
Definitely the hardest thing
Yeah.
in or out of the world, however you want to, put it. I figure the first question we kind of go over is reusability in space. It's a kind of a hot button topic, if you will, over the last few years. Some people are for it, some people are against it, some people are, just indifferent. So figured I'd ask both of you what your thoughts are on that.
Henna, you want to go first this time?
Sure. Um, so I don't understand why anyone would be against it. I feel like reusability in space is like recycling.
I'm with
Exactly,
you.
yeah.
I agree.
I feel so reusability is a beautiful concept. Being able to use what's in space or being able to even recycle what we're taking with us to space, so we can make it last longer. A few thoughts here. So I think that it'd be really amazing to see some 3D printing in space.
That'd be cool.
So some in situ resource utilization. So that's ISRU. That'd be really awesome. Another thing that's very interesting that I'd like to see is fuel depots. So being able to create fuel depots from, methane and what we can find in space, urine filtering system on the ISS that we take advantage of. There's just a lot of places where reusability is where we are reusing materials right now, and we have designs in place and research in place to create room for reusability in the future. And there's just a lot of exciting research around that.
Yeah, I thought your answer was awesome. I think I'm all for reusability, just to the extent that if you look at, again, what of the shuttle was thrown away because we didn't have we were so new to space flight at that point, especially human space flight as a society, culture, existence, I don't know, pick your favorite. We didn't have the capability to reuse as much of it as we can now. Like if you look at the number of boosters that are actually relanded, the one that comes to mind is SpaceX, because you can see so many of their YouTube videos. Yeah. But it's just from simply a resource standpoint. If we throw out the fact cost, because some people actually argue that it's more expensive to reuse. If we throw that out, I think it's cheaper. We'll throw it out. Just from the sheer fact that takes an incredible amount of Earth resources to create. Like the sheer amount of metal that goes in to make these things, we're losing that if we can't reuse it again. I mean, in some cases, maybe you could recycle it to do other things, but in a lot of cases, I don't think you can. And so, I don't know. To me, to waste those resources to go to space is, I think, doing harm to Earth. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
I love space, but I would very much like to continue to live on a healthy planet. Not even continue. We need to get our planet healthier. And I think maybe it's slower than just throwing it all away. But I mean, what is it? We only get one Earth. So, and maybe we can colonize another planet in the future, but that's not coming soon.
Yeah, definitely.
It's definitely not going to be an easy task colonizing anything, no matter whether it's Mars or, whatever the case may be.
Right.
No. Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to spoil it. We could talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll go into that. But
Anna makes a good point about cost also, is that wherever we can save by reusing, it will only enable us to explore space even more. If it's always so expensive to be launching rockets because we're throwing everything away, that barrier to exploring space will just be greater. But where we can save costs, it's easier to access space. And we can keep expanding our human knowledge base of what is out there.
Exactly. I think cost is a really important point. I think cost is, one of the major barriers aside from engineering and actual technical challenges is that it's so expensive.
Yes.
And I think once we can get over that, I mean, it's going to take technological innovation to do that. It took technological innovation to make smartphones cheaper.
Oh, yeah.
Like, but once we can get there, I think, and make spaceflight more affordable, I think, and I think one of the major ways to do that is through reusability.
Yeah, because I think one could even argue that the space shuttle isn't reusable or wasn't reusable because they pretty much had to, you know, all the tiles had to be taken off and checked. You know, the boosters were laying in the ocean; they had to be fixed. You know, so it was reusability in the sense of like the main body was, but I'd say 70% of the components were, you know, reworked after each flight.
Watching that thing land, though, was super cool.
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It was a brick gliding down to Earth. You know, that was about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that what you were saying is the cost is the number one factor that is the adherence, like the adherence to space, because if it's so expensive, we're never going to colonize anything because we'll never be able to afford it. The cheaper we get things, the easier it'll make to get to space. Therefore, the easier it'll be to forward in the future our colonization. All right, so we're all about reusability. Awesome.
Yeah.
Like I said, team reusable. Yeah. Like I said, I have heard the argument from the following I do have online, which is not anywhere near the size of other people's, but I've had people argue with me how reusability is like the dumbest thing ever out there, or the fact that we've never been to space, but that's a whole different, you know, argument. But
well, that's what makes it fun, right? If everybody just agreed with you.
It does make it interesting from time to time because I get the whole flat earthers and all the other people that are out there.
Okay.
But yeah.
That's an interesting. Well,
We can go into that if you want to. That's fine.
No, we don't need to.
Anna has some feelings about this.
I think factual-based arguments in science are fun. I wouldn't call flat earther a factual-based argument in science, but that's all right.
Oh, I'm right
in
there with
Anna's
you.
boat. Yep. I think all of us are in your boat, Anna.
Yeah.
You also got
I'm
the
like, please
space
don't.
deniers and the hollow earth people and the concave earth, and it's got the whole smorgasbord of interestingness.
Yeah. Yeah.
You look like you want to say something about that.
No.
You sure?
I'm just like more. I'm like, that takes a lot of energy.
It does.
Like,
also, it's funny because Anna and I just finished recording 2 episodes about Area 51 and Project Blue Book, which is all about UFO sightings. So we're coming away from a month of really looking into some conspiracy theories.
And some of them are really interesting, and and some of them are really interesting, and other ones are like, okay.
Especially with the news lately, with like the Navy pilots and stuff that have kind of testified on whether UFO sightings they saw were real or not, and all that. So,
well, I don't want to make it sound like, people didn't see what they think they saw. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think there are people who lie. I don't want to say that everybody is the queen of honesty or king. But I think most people, maybe I'm just an optimist, really do think they saw a UFO. It's just, in many cases, we will never know if they did or not. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think most people lie about it. But.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I'm in Anna's boat too, is that we don't want to disregard what people saw. But yeah, the thing is, in that period of time, a lot of these conspiracies came out was because it was very much a game of telephone. You know, someone saw something, they spread it to the next person. There really wasn't the internet to verify, like, oh, case by case, each one of these sightings was being resolved with an engineering or a science-based reason.
Yes. Or do you? At the time, there was such hysteria. I think it started in the 40s after World War II. It was also, I think, during the Cold War.
40s and 50s. Yep.
Yeah, there was I don't want to say hysteria, but I think hysteria maybe.
Hysteria is an accurate word, I think.
Of UFOs. And so it's like that syndrome right? There's an official word for it. I just can't remember it. That if you learn a new word, like if you learn a new vocabulary word, all of a sudden you're going to start hearing that word everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it's simply because you now know what that means and you notice it. I think the same goes that if you are reading everywhere in the news that everybody's seeing a UFO, if you're seeing something out of the normal, your first instinct will be to think that it's a UFO. You know?
Very true.
Yes, very true.
Every
So I
time I
think-
hear UFO, though, I just think of the dude on the History Channel saying aliens. You know that.
Also, a UFO is just an unidentified flying object.
Exactly.
I guess it doesn't even really have to be aliens, right?
Could be
Right.
a bird. You just didn't know it was a
Yeah,
bird.
it's just unidentified.
Could be a
Yeah.
drone, which most likely
Who
nowadays
knows?
is probably a drone.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
Unidentified. Very true. There's a lot. I think they have some pretty strict laws about those now.
Yeah,
People
I
do
mean
crazy
like
things.
DARPA military type drones that are
Oh,
real secret squirrel that the public's not supposed to know about.
I was thinking about like your 15-year-old neighbor who's like flying
Or it could be that
by
too.
and like
I mean,
the
who knows?
FAA's getting mad at him.
Could be that too. I mean, I live 9 miles away from the airport, and the planes turn final directly over my house.
Oh,
So people flying drones are in this area is especially like no because of
yeah.
they're so low to the ground.
Darn, wow.
Did you both see the stories of the jetpack dude out in LAX?
Oh my God, yes. I read that for a second and then I genuinely wasn't sure if it was real or not.
Yep, twice now.
Darn.
Yeah, I think they're like 30 miles away from landing at the airport, but still that's like their final, coming down, and it's harder for them to, board during those times. So somebody's
my
getting smacked
gosh.
around probably, but
Like, that's dangerous.
That's crazy.
Yeah, darn. I did read that and I was like, is this real? And I guess it was.
yep. I don't know if they caught the person, but it's definitely real.
Ugh.
So, actually, I wanted to bring up something that I think Henna brought up earlier. You're talking about the water filtration, like purification system using urine. I've had a few guests on the show, and I've talked about with people online. They had no idea that that's how they got their water up there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
That's
I've had a
what
lot of people
reclaimed water
completely,
is.
yeah, I had a lot of people completely grossed out when I told them that they're just drinking filtered urine. I'm like, well, most of the people are in this country, but okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, we kind of are too. It just goes through a
Yeah.
whole bunch of more steps before you get to it.
Yeah.
It's not quite so. It's not quite so immediate.
I found that quite interesting how little people know of how we keep astronauts alive on the ISS, the International Space Station, for anybody who doesn't know what that term is.
It's
Yeah,
pretty
actually.
remarkable.
Yes, there's
Yeah.
another woman who has a space podcast. Her name is Emily Speck, and it's called Space Curious. It's a wonderful podcast. And in the first episode, she's talking to her friend, and her friend is like, "Yeah, we had like a 3-week unit on space when I was in middle school, and that was it." And I was like, "What?"
That's
Like,
a
I
really
think I
good
so.
point.
Yes, I so easily forget because I'm immersed in space all the time
Yeah.
that by choice that that's really not taught to the general public. Most people who love space, it's not. I don't think it's they learn it on their own or in
Right.
college.
Yeah.
Right.
And
It's sad. It would be amazing if we integrated it into the public education system more so than just learning the planets and your solar system. That way we could, I feel like it would just foster curiosity even more, you know?
yeah,
I think
agree.
especially, in the last, I don't know, decade or so, I feel like certain sciences are definitely not pushed as hard as they were even when I was a kid, because, being a child like born in the late 80s, I was grown up as like computers were still pretty new, and you're taking typing classes and you're doing all this other stuff. So science was like hardcore pushed in my, education. But I know a lot of the people who were like, yeah, I don't even know what you're talking about right now. And I thought some of those things were like basic knowledge, but obviously not.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, shout out to all the teachers right now. I couldn't even imagine being a teacher in general, let alone in the middle of this pandemic.
Oh, definitely.
I
Mhm.
do love science, and I selfishly But like
Nothing
more of
wrong
it
with
in
that.
every school curriculum everywhere.
Yeah.
There's basics of science teaches you that apply to so many other things. It doesn't have to just be science, that, you know, engineering can teach you how to survive in the woods because then you know how to build a shelter. There's so many other like derivatives that you can pull from these things.
Well, I even just think the scientific method, right, where you do an experiment and you change one variable at a time and you have a
Mm-hmm.
control.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, did you do that as a kid? Like you had two bean plants and
Hmm.
you watered one with Gatorade and you watered one with regular water.
And then you figure out your hypothesis, which one's
Exactly.
going to
Exactly.
survive and why.
And you kept them in the same environment because if you had one in a different environment, then you wouldn't know why one grew better than the other. Yeah. I just think that, I mean, that concept applies to, I cannot think of a career where you wouldn't use that.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it's
Good
just
point.
general.
Especially when you get into like even basic physics where you're teaching like first principles and all that and just get to like what the root of the problem is and you go from there. It's just the better
Completely.
way to look at everything.
Yeah. I think it's
Oh,
just,
yeah.
I mean, life, super helpful.
And that's something that obviously Elon and some others, but he's like the big proponent. People give him a lot of crap over that, but that's I believe the same type of stuff. So it's all good. But
Big proponent
of
what do you
pushing first
specifically?
principles learning,
Oh, yeah.
a lot of people try and give him a bunch of crap saying, well, not everything has to be taught and or learned that way, and
What
he's
are,
always talking about how that should be like the basis, not the other way around.
Yeah,
I
I
actually don't
remember,
know what first principles are.
I think you mean foundation, right?
Yeah, it's basically like
Like
the foundations of the problem, like how to
the,
get to the.
right.
Oh.
The tree trunk of knowledge, like the trunk of knowledge. Like I think he actually said this in an interview. He was,
I think
or
so, yeah.
Oh,
I
I
read this
didn't
somewhere
know.
where you shouldn't be grasping for the branches of knowledge. You should be really going after the trunk of knowledge. So basically, like if you know your foundations, if you know, for example, like your very basic physics, you should
Yeah.
be able to then figure out and learn and better contribute to problems that have more of the complex physics involved. But if you're going to have
Interesting.
a very like so foundation and you're trying to just like tackle really challenging problems, it'll be a lot harder and you won't retain as much as you would otherwise.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? Teach a man a fish. Oh, give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a
Yeah,
man a fish,
Yeah,
he'll eat for a lifetime.
exactly.
exact
Right.
same thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
I explain it to, because I have kids. I have 3 kids. I explain it to
Oh
them
my
in a way
God,
of,
wow.
yeah.
Wow.
I
Good
explain it
for
to them
you.
in a way of, it's like me trying to teach you math in elementary school, but I'm teaching you statistics. You're not going to understand what I'm talking about. You have to start at the basics and then work your way up. And I try and tell them the same thing, like, what's the problem or what's the question or what does the paragraph say? Don't try and figure out what the answer is yet. You need to know what the question is. So that's the basis of how I
Yes.
do it.
I also think, I think the way, I think math, I think a lot of things apparently. Math and physics are just a language, right? They're just a different language. Like you're not going to learn another language and immediately start speaking in paragraphs.
Nope.
You're going to start like children. Like children learn a language, they start with one word, 2 words, and they piece them together. I think it's the same, like exactly like you said, for math and physics, they are languages. Calculus is a language. It's just understanding it. But
Some people definitely have varying levels of understanding, obviously, but
that's okay.
like me, you're not going to find me doing computational physics probably, but hey,
Well,
I'm
I am
still.
a truly, truly terrible artist. So
Oh yeah, my trees are
we
still
all even
broccoli,
out.
so I'm still doing stickman, figures.
Oh,
So
me too. People
Me
who can
too.
just draw, like people who can just effortlessly draw. I'm like,
Oh my
I
gosh.
don't
not
even
this guy.
know. Like, I'm so awful.
Yeah, I am too.
I got zero artistic talent whatsoever.
Yeah,
So,
it's not giving that gift.
But so we can move on to the next topic of conversation, which was very prevalent in the news lately, was our, well, I won't assume our, I'll say my favorite asteroid in Bennu, and us landing on it and taking a sample.
Everybody's new favorite asteroid.
So what are your latest thoughts on that entire, mission?
Did you both watch it?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did too. My dad texted me to be like, the live stream started.
I'm a nerd. I have all the launches and, missions and all that stuff like timed out. So
It was super cool. I think actually Henna brought that up earlier. I think it's, aside from it just being an incredible achievement of engineering, truly. Congratulations to that whole team. I can't even imagine, like, they've spent years wondering if this was going to work, because it launched like 2 years ago, right?
Yep.
I couldn't to launch something 2 years ago and be like, fingers crossed.
Yeah, let's hope it doesn't run into something in the process that we didn't know about, right?
Seriously. But
Yeah.
I think it actually ties in very perfectly to what Henna spoke about earlier, and something actually Henna really likes, I think, is in situ resource utilization.
Yeah.
Henna loves that term.
I talk about it a lot, and Anna's picked up on it.
For anyone who doesn't
It's
know
a
what that
really
is,
cool
it's
thing.
resource mining in space, basically, is what it is.
Exactly. And this is, I mean, aside from the fact that we're going to kind of understand more about the composition of this asteroid, I think it's the first step into figuring out how that's possible. Because being able to mine resources in space and not have to bring everything with us from Earth would make, I mean, everything more feasible.
Oh, yeah. So launches, Anna brought this up earlier. The reason why launches are expensive is because we have to build so much to launch from Earth. And if we can save mass, so more mass means more money. So if you have more mass on your rocket, you're going to be spending a lot more, and it's going to be harder for you to launch. But if we can find resources in space that we can use and minimize mass that we're launching, it'll make space even more accessible.
Yeah, completely.
Especially water, because it's crazy heavy.
That's a big one. Yeah,
Yeah.
water is really heavy, which is part of the reason why astronauts bring rehydrated food.
Yep.
Yes.
Dehydrated, excuse me.
Dehydrated, yep.
Yeah, water is really heavy. If you're a backpacker and you've carried your water, water is heavy.
I have some intimate experience with lugging water over long distances in my military days, so
Oof.
yeah.
Oh man.
I just did it by choice. It was hard.
I would say we
It's like,
didn't
do I
have a
really-
choice. They were kind of just like, go. But, I
Yeah,
guess
well,
choice
I
by
did.
I was there, because I volunteered. But
I
Yeah.
was like, do I really need 2 liters?
yep.
Yeah, it did.
You find out real quick when you, wish you had.
Yeah, tell me about it. But
Yeah, I think the just the sheer fact that we got the video as quickly as we did to be able to watch is its own like magnificence, I guess you could say, because this thing's millions of miles away from here, out in the deep,
Yeah.
cold recesses of space, and then we just get to watch them punch an asteroid in the face, basically. So
It's
it
amazing.
was really cool.
Yeah.
And then it was actually neat. They got it on the first try. When I was reading, I think they actually had like 2 more cylinders that they could do it again if they didn't get the sample. But I mean, first try, success, really impressive.
And the asteroid is billions of years old. Absolutely incredible.
I think
And
it says
I was
over 4
reading,
billion, right?
yeah, 4.5 billion years old. And I was also reading, apparently, it only reflects less than 5% of light. And so it's an incredibly dark object in space. And for reference, I think the Earth reflects about 30%. So, and I was going to say, I think Venus reflects 65%. Don't take my word on it.
I don't know at all. So,
but yeah, I
We're gonna
just
go with
thought
those
that was
numbers, yes.
incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so excited when they get it in 2 more years to figure out what it is, like what it's
Right,
made out of.
right. And in the video, you could see that there was a lot of like, just like dust. So
Mhm.
it felt like they caught a good
Chunk.
diverse sample, like a good chunk.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
was
don't know what
reading
their
about
sample
that.
size was supposed to be. I don't recall what the amount of mass they're supposed to be carrying, but I know they were discussing how it's going to make it um, more difficult, obviously, to spin the spacecraft around because of the mass that's now on board of it.
It's now unbalanced.
Yeah.
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 I was it's actually really neat. If you go to the web, if you just type in like Osiris Rex, you just
Yep.
Google it. You can get to the NASA webpage and they actually list like all the different places that they were looking at landing and like what went into narrowing down each one. It's really interesting. It's a cool read.
Yeah.
Because it didn't just they weren't just like, all right, it'll land where it lands. Like they really were trying they were trying to figure out where to land on an object they've never seen in person. Like, don't really know all that much about if you
Mhm.
compare it to like how much we know about other planets. Um, Trying to figure out where to land to try to get a diverse sample. Really interesting. It was cool.
Yeah.
It's a lot more goes into where you land than I think I ever realized before.
Definitely. I love how much information you can find on the NASA
Oh
websites
yeah,
about
it's
the
awesome.
missions.
This
Um,
webpage is really cool too. Whoever designed it did a good job. Looks really nice.
really, I'll have to check
Yeah,
it out.
looks really good.
Yeah, I just love that point you made that, we've never been there before. We have to, and all this research and time and effort was put into figuring out where they're going to collect the sample from.
Like, have you ever tried to pick a restaurant in a foreign country and you're like, I don't know,
Yep.
man. Like, and that's like so hard.
Right.
Like, I don't even know where to go, let alone what this place
Yeah.
is.
Like, that's the best analog I have for my life compared to what they
Such
did.
a good point.
And was it
Uh,
22 months of a mission for 20 seconds of actually like doing the work it was there to do?
as a person with anxiety, I can just only imagine what it was like to be one of those engineers.
Right. It's like you're
God.
basing years of your life on this speck you see
Yeah. Whoa.
on like a like a solar chart.
Really amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably even more so for like the Juno mission going all the way out there, because that was years and years of them waiting, and then you
The
know,
Yeah.
Pluto one? Yeah.
yep.
Yep.
That was, I remember when we got those pictures. That was so cool. Like all my friends and I were like, they're coming, they're gonna release them. That was so cool. And then the NASA web, because it had like the heart, kind of like the half heart,
Yeah.
right? Cute, yes. That was so cool.
And that obviously really kicked off the debate again as to whether it's a planet or
Is
not a
Pluto a
planet and all
planet?
that. But
I love Pluto. I really do. But I'm team it's not a planet. It kills me inside. It really does. Because I love Pluto. I watched a whole documentary about Pluto with my dad, actually. I think it was a Nova. If you have PBS, you can watch Nova.
mhm.
Um, all about Pluto and actually about the Juno mission. I'm team it's not a planet. Actually, apparently, the scientists who officially were like Pluto is not a planet had to go apologize to the family of the guy who discovered Pluto.
I remember reading
Yep.
that.
Yeah, I felt so bad. I was like, oh, that's so awful. That
Like,
poor family. But also, man, yeah, it kills me inside. But I'm team Pluto is not a planet. Henna, Michael, thoughts?
I'm a very much in Anna's boat. It was definitely, I remember feeling sad. I
I'm
remember
sad.
feeling
I'm
sad when
still
it was
sad.
not 9 planets anymore. I'm like, this feels weird. But then I did the reading and I was like, oh, I guess it makes sense.
I read the argument that they're like, if Pluto is a planet, so are these 1,000 other random space objects.
Exactly.
I was like, all right, that's a lot to ask grade school kids to memorize.
yeah,
Like,
I'm in the same boat. My first thought, jokingly, was just like, "Oh, my elementary school teachers lied to me with the whole moniker of our solar system." But once you get into it, it doesn't fit the definition.
it doesn't. They're right. I agree. I agree.
So there's people
It's
still
sad.
vehemently argue. I don't know if you've ever gone online to
I have
watch these
not.
arguments, but if you ever get the chance, I recommend it because it's quite hilarious.
Huh. Good to know.
you'll see some teeth coming out for whether or not like it affects them personally somehow. I don't know, but
We all need a hill to die on, I guess.
I guess
Like,
some people choose some strange hills, you know.
have you ever that whole thing where people will like go like they will claws out argue about whether or not a hot dog is a sandwich?
Oh yeah,
Like,
Oh my gosh, is that a
have you never
thing?
heard that?
it's a thing.
No.
That's 100% a thing.
That's a much less intellectual argument to look up on the internet.
Oh God, I did not realize that was a thing.
Yeah, and I was like, does it matter? Like,
Right.
But it really does to some people.
Some people just, I'm all about, you know, I love a good hot dog, but I'm not going to
Don't we
argue whether
all?
or not it's a sandwich. Just not me.
This
Like
is
my military
hilarious.
friends and I have all types of arguments that probably normal people would just be like, y'all are a bunch of idiots. But, you know, that's just the way we are.
I very distinctly remember at a campfire with Henna discussing whether or not immortality would be a good idea.
Oh my
You remember
gosh. Yes.
Imagine that's an
And we'll
interesting
not go
argument,
into that
though.
argument, but we also have.
Oh yeah, we were with a wonderful group of ladies, and
Yes,
everyone had an opinion.
we did, and I was pounding s'mores.
It was a good time. But yeah, Anna's right. Everyone had their own hill to die on with that argument.
Yes, it was actually very fun.
People were upset. Some people kind of didn't care. They're like, "What the heck are we talking about?"
It
Some
was
people
very
watching this might be like, what the heck are they talking about right now? I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll find
Google it.
out when it comes out.
Google it. Yeah.
Is a hot dog a sandwich? Should we live forever?
Go find some YouTube videos.
Oh, I'm sure somebody's made, if they can make them about flat earth, somebody's made them about that. That's all I know.
Or what's the other one? Like, how many holes does a straw have? I'm team 1. Like,
Oh my gosh.
I've actually never heard that argument. I'm going to have to look that up.
oh man, I guess I'm hanging out with the wrong people.
I will have to look that up now. That's interesting to me.
Yeah,
say one
actually, that one is
also.
actually kind of interesting, right?
Yeah,
So,
that one is interesting.
but
I do have to address the elephant in the room there behind you there, Anna. Is Saturn
Oh,
V
my
your
Saturn
favorite
V.
rocket?
it's this way. Yes, it's the Lego Saturn V. I remember when that came out, and I unfortunately did not get one in the. It like came out, and they were like, then they restocked it like 15 more times. But I had some friends who were like, "It's finally back!" And it came back, and I got it, and it has 1,969 pieces. Because
Oh my
that's in
God.
1969. That's when the Saturn V launched. Yeah, it's really cool. I don't think
Anna loves the Saturn V.
I do. I
a
have
beast.
pictures over here.
She has pictures. She has a cross stitch.
I did. I cross stitched it. If you like to cross stitch, you can go to Etsy. This guy named X Stitch Collective, like the letter X.
Mhm.
He did the Saturn V. I actually just made one of the space shuttle. So, but yeah, I like the Saturn V a lot.
So you'd say that's your favorite rocket that we've made.
I love all rockets,
Mhm.
but yes, I do have a soft spot for the Saturn V. It's a cool looking rocket.
It is.
Like,
Anna loves it. Yeah.
I do. I remember.
What about you, Hannah? What would you say your favorite rocket is?
You know, I don't think I have a favorite rocket.
She loves them all equally.
I
picked a
really
favorite
love them
child.
all. Yeah.
Love them all. That's
I love
not a
them
bad
all.
answer. You know.
They are all cool.
Yeah, I think if I were to pick something that from missions that I really have loved learning about, it would have to be the Skylab missions.
Those are
Because
cool.
of, yeah, they're really
That's
awesome.
the Saturn V.
Heck yeah. Because the Skylab missions, there's just so much research about, biology in space. And I feel like that crossroads is so interesting.
They're really neat.
Yeah.
Definitely an interesting mission, especially when you consider the mutiny they had on board. That was pretty awesome to read about. Where they shut their communications down to Earth for 48 hours.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. I forgot about
I
that too.
completely forgot about that. Yes, that is such an interesting story.
They're just like, I'm tired of y'all talking to us. See ya. You know.
Because I get it.
Yeah.
I would get it. They're in a fishbowl. They're like, do this now. And they're like, well, you can't do anything about it. Just shut up there.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
It's like if all the contestants on The Bachelor were just like, nope.
He's not gonna talk to you.
Yeah.
I don't, I forgot about that. I'm going to have to go read about that again. Yes, that
Same.
it was funny because, but I could imagine being one of those engineers and being like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, you don't know if they're dead. You have no idea.
Yeah.
48 hours. Is it 24 or
Right.
48 hours? I think it was 48, but.
I forgot about that. Yes. I was like, mutiny? I was like, completely forgot about that. I'm going to
I was expecting something. Yeah, when you said mutiny, I was like, did someone die? I feel like this would have been really a hot topic
Yeah, for real.
No,
I never heard about that.
Fascinating. Yeah. I think we just got so much knowledge about humans in space, like isolated confined systems. That is what space is. Like you are isolated in a tiny little capsule. So we have so much information about human psychology in space because of that.
Yeah.
So kind of. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I wasn't going to say anything worthwhile.
I was going to say, so we kind of segue there. Do you think that for future colonization missions, there should be psychological testing more so for, like, let's say it's not just scientists going, like it's the average Joe who they can finally like afford to go to Mars, let's say. Do you think there should be or shouldn't be psychological mandatory testing?
I'm team yes. I think so. I can only they do a lot of experiments with this, but to take somebody and ask them to leave behind their home planet, essentially in many cases forever, and live in a environment where you may not even be able to go outside. Like if you live on Mars, you'd never be able to go outside and get fresh air. Like you would always be protected from the environment. And I think I don't know if I could do that. And I think if you are going to do that successfully, at least at the beginning, you should make sure that people, A, fully understand what they're doing, and B, would be okay. Like just from this is not like I'm not trying to say like we're trying to bar people from space. I'm like, you don't want to send somebody who then is miserable and immediately regrets it.
Oh, definitely. And then brings morale down for others.
Exactly. Yes. Like I couldn't imagine living in unfortunately I was not affected by the wildfires, but we got smoke from the wildfires. And so I couldn't go outside for days. And I was like, I couldn't even, it was horrible. And essentially that would be Mars, but forever.
Multiplied times millions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Darn.
Yeah,
any other planet in our
and somebody on a 9-month-long mission who goes stir crazy, one little thing that they do to sabotage can kill everybody on board, obviously. So I'd be on board with them mandating some psychological exam. And
they do go through psychological exams already with just vetting current astronaut crews, but this would be a whole other game, like this is just a whole other adventure going to Mars.
Well, and it's actually, sorry, continue, Henna.
I just wanted to say, like, imagine not being able to see the Earth, like your home not being in your window. It's like there's one level of being able to see your home outside of your space shuttle window. Like there's Earth, my home is there somewhere. But like just being out on your way to Mars, not being able to like see your home. And this is actually kind of a tangent, but the show Away it's
very good at this. Yeah,
it's very good at this. So there's a recent show that was released on Netflix. It's called Away. It has Hilary Swank in it, and it's exactly what we're talking about right now. It's about sending an astronaut crew to Mars. And the show is really good. Every single episode goes into the different interpersonal issues that these interpersonal issues that this crew is having, and also the issues that the crew members themselves are having being so far from Earth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it actually does a really good job. It also does a really great job in showing even just like gender dynamics
Yes.
that can occur. And then actually it's really interesting. They run trials kind of. They do more. It's just they test out more things than just human psychology, but it's called the Hera project.
Yes.
I think anybody who has a what?
I think I've heard of it before. I'm not sure though.
Yeah, it's a NASA run project. I think it's just continuous. They do different sets.
Yes.
So it's like 5 or 6 people, I think. Maybe it's more.
I think it's 5 or 6 people for durations of 2 to 4 weeks.
I think it's a month and a half.
Okay. I think there were different time durations.
Yes. I think the current ones are a month and a half.
Okay.
But they could have very possibly been 2 or 4 weeks. And they put them together and then give them roles, like if they were on a mission to Mars or something, and they they essentially have them imitate or go through the motions of being on a long haul space mission, and they analyze it and figure out how it goes. Like I think you get 1 10-minute phone call home a week.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I think that's it. And they actually even I remember hearing somebody talk about it, that when the version they did when they were communicating with like the command center, they would purposely delay all communications by 10 minutes so that it would be like if you were farther away from Earth, even though they're probably like right outside. But it's really neat. Actually, I think the only requirements are that you have to be 30 years old and that you need to have a graduate degree in a science field. So if you're 30 years old and you have a graduate degree in a science field and you're willing to live with 5 other people you don't know for a month and a half for science,
for science,
it actually looks cool.
And they pay you a stipend.
Yeah, I think they pay you.
I'd probably do it.
And not a ton, not a good amount, but we're not I don't think you're gonna come out of this making rolling
bank. Yeah.
You're probably getting a few $1,000s and thanks for your service, but it's all for science.
I mean, also cool. I think they get to design all the teams design their own mission patches. It actually looks really cool.
It looks cool, yeah.
Yeah.
And Anna made a good point about how they're observing different roles. So it's not only the psychology of the individual that's very important on a long duration mission, but it's also how the engineers and scientists on the ground design the roles and the tasks for each person to almost help mitigate any issues from coming up.
It's also, they even try to make sure, it's even little things to make sure people are eating. Mm-hmm. If people are unhappy with the food they're given, they may not eat it. Or if they're people who go through bouts of depression aren't going to eat. And on Earth, you should eat, just period. It's important. But if you don't eat a meal for a day, you're probably going to be fine. It gets more dire in space when calcium is leaching out of your bones in the microgravity environment. If people are eating because of things that are going on, that could be really harmful.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I have an interesting analog for how we could test people's ability to handle confinement within the ship.
Is it this? Is it the pandemic?
Could be. In the Navy, I wasn't a submariner, but I knew a lot of people who were. So slap some people in the submarine, submerge it underwater for about a month. Don't let them talk to anybody besides themselves. That's a very good analog to see whether you could survive 6 months on a ship with the same people.
God.
Actually, scientists, yeah.
Yeah, Nemo? They do a version where they have scientists go to the, it's like a submarine and they put scientists on it and it's another space analog.
Yeah.
Called Nemo.
Okay, I didn't know what it was called.
Yeah. I think that one's actually a little bit, it's interesting because it's a better analog because at the bottom of the ocean, you can't just go outside. You have to put on a scuba suit so you can kind of do an EVA. That also looks really cool.
That's cool.
But I couldn't imagine being people mariners do it for 6 months at a time. Wow.
Yeah, sometimes longer depending on what the Navy wants from you.
And
good actually, thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service.
Seriously, that's really intense. I could never imagine doing that.
Yeah, they're crazy people, but I do it because I'm crazy. But you know, they're even crazier than me.
Yeah. Um, Michael, but actually, so you made a good point about the analog missions. If you look for research papers to find out about human psychology in space, many of them reference uh, military and submarines,
Mm-hmm.
and it's definitely very relevant.
Yeah, because I mean, every mission is different, obviously, and only the Navy has like knowledge of what the mission is going to be, like upper brass
Yeah.
and then the captain of the ship.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes they go weeks without surfacing, so they're breathing recycled air, which would be the same thing as on a ship. They're
Yeah.
eating food sometimes just powdered because that's all they have left.
Mm-hmm.
No fresh food. Obviously, in space, you don't have fresh food at all. You know, sometimes they don't take showers. There's just all this stuff that would be very, you know, similar to what you'd be going on with
So
any type of space
interesting.
mission.
Oh, right.
So interesting. Yeah.
And
It's
you're
just
all in the same. Sorry, Anne, I cut you off.
no, I just said it was interesting. It's not really that great of a thought.
Yeah, and you're all stuck in the same environment. If someone gets upset at someone else, you can't just leave and cool off. You have to stay in that same room.
Yeah, that's really intense.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing as the pressure of the water, you know, could be an analog for the environment of space. You can't just, you know, if you had to escape, you just can't because you'd be dead. You know, the water pressure would, you know, kill everybody almost instantly. So there's a lot of variables that are very similar to the, you know, depths of the ocean out in space.
Yeah.
But I have heard a
Definitely.
lot of people say how going to space is easier than going to the depths of the ocean, especially like the Marianas Trench and stuff because of the pressure down there.
I could see it.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it is fascinating. Submarine technology is also really impressive.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because they're getting down to, I think it was somewhere in the order of like thousands of psi per square, you know,
That's insane.
per square inch, like squared almost. Like it was getting to like the inches, the glass is like, you know, 8 inches thick or something like that.
That's
Wow.
insane. I couldn't even
But
imagine. Gotta be so dark too. Man,
Yep.
That's a good point too, Anna.
that's a lot.
So since we're speaking about this though, I know you kind of alluded to it a little bit, but would either of you go to another planet if you had the choice?
Probably. I mean, I don't want to live there forever, but yes, if I could
Yeah.
go for a while and come home, I think
If
so.
if Anna was going, I'd probably go too. It'd be fun.
I'd
We
be
could
like,
make
all right, well, I know somebody.
we can record episodes in space.
Let's
There you
give this a go. Like, I've
Would
watched
it-
everything on Netflix, so
Would the stipulation be that you have to be able to come back though? Would that be like the stipulation?
yeah, I don't want to live on another planet
Yeah,
personally.
yeah. I'm in the same boat as Anna. I would only go if I could come back.
I'm assuming like ISS or something like a short comparative hop. That would just be something you'd be fine with, you know, because you obviously can come back.
Yeah, if I was given the opportunity
definitely.
to go to the ISS, I would definitely take it.
100%.
Would you
Yeah, me
live on
too.
another planet, Michael?
Yep.
You would do it?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Why? I'm so curious.
I've always been the type that if it's stupid, I'll probably try it. So
I
I'm
didn't
a
think that's what
yeah.
you were gonna say.
Yeah.
And stupid in the way of not like, you know, it's just a
Extreme.
dumb thing to do, but it's extreme and or there's a possibility of you're going to hurt yourself doing. Most likely I will attempt it. I've been skydiving. You know, I ride motorcycles, you know, all types of stuff like that. So I'm basically just a self-proclaimed like adrenaline junkie. So if it's something that kind of like get you going a little bit, I'll probably try it. So that's one reason why I would just be like, it's something new, it's something exciting. It would push you mentally, physically, emotionally, and those are all things that it's kind of like what I thrive on. But again, that's why I said at the beginning,
Fascinating.
I'm a little bit dumb in that
No.
regard because a lot of
No,
myself
no,
and a
no.
lot of people I know are exactly the same way, and people look at you like, you're kind of an idiot if you're jumping out of planes and doing like, well,
So I hurt my knee trying to run a marathon last year. And I'm fine now. My physical therapist was talking to her. She was like, so you probably can't skydive. And I was like, oh, like that. That's
the thing holding me back.
Like,
dang it,
Like I was really ready for her to be like, you really should never run over 5 miles again or anything like that. She's like, skydiving is probably not something you should do. I was like, oh, okay. Okay.
I can make that work.
I can fit that into my lifestyle.
Don't think I've ever heard that as like the mitigating factor for a health professional. Like, listen, can't go skydiving. And like, well,
yeah.
Okay.
It's because what she was saying was it was a really direct, harsh impact on your knees.
Which running is anyways, but.
Yeah, it's a little bit different because it's just so much sharper when you're skydiving. I would imagine. I've never skydived, but I've jumped, and I can multiply that by 100 and only imagine what that feels like.
If you're good, you can pretty much like kill your velocity and just like stop, or you can slide in on your butt. Basically, that's just how. If you're tandem, you have to basically like slide in. But
good to know.
Yeah, I went skydiving once, and
did you really?
I did, and it was beautiful and scary, but also I would not go with a hurt knee because what Michael is describing, having control, I definitely did not have that. I was just freaking out and hoping I'd land okay.
You're like, please don't let this be my day.
Funnily enough, the first time I went, it's a little bit tangent, obviously sidebar here, but my parent was watching me from the ground because it was the first time I went, and the chute actually took a while to open because I got video of it. I didn't know about it till it was, down because you just have a lot of adrenaline going. But
your poor parent.
Made it through it. So.
How old were you?
18.
Wow.
I graduated high school, and that was what I wanted for my graduation. But so I figure we can move on from the skydiving topic here because I could probably go about stupid things like that all night long. But I don't really know what exactly they're alluding to here, but NASA supposedly has some new discovery they're announcing on Monday about the moon.
I saw that.
Yes.
I also don't know what it is, but I'm excited. Who doesn't love more info about the moon?
So let's get into conspiracy theories here. What do we think they're announcing?
It's made of cheese.
That's the first thing I saw online was that someone said that.
I think it's so exciting. Like they're building up all this hype around this, and I've been seeing the articles come in because I'm like, what more information can I get? And literally like every few hours, it's just like, what is NASA going to announce? Big announcement coming soon. And it's just like making me so excited because I think it's been a while since NASA has like built up this suspense about an announcement.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
I can't remember the last time where it was a big announcement coming our way from a space agency.
Because they put that video out last May called "We Are Going," right? About how we were going to go back to the moon.
Yeah, for the Artemis
YouTube
stuff.
Video. I think it was last May, but I don't know. It's called "We Are Going." It's on YouTube. It's actually a great video. I don't think there was any build up for that. I think it was just there one day.
Right. Yes.
Like I don't think they're like, we're announcing this. It was just like one day this beautiful video was on YouTube.
Right.
I may be wrong. Maybe I just missed it, but I don't think there was the same kind of build up.
No, I really don't think there has been a build up like this for other missions or other announcements.
I mean, aside from SpaceX Crew Dragon, but that's a little bit different because we all knew what that was.
I have a feeling that it's going to be something kind of funny, like, hey, Neil Armstrong's footprint's still there. Gotcha, guys.
That'd be
like...
cute. I'm going to be sad, though, if it's like something we all kind of already knew.
Yeah, like it's going to be there for a million years. Awesome. Cool. We already knew that.
Yeah, there's no wind.
Yeah, I've seen all types of things. Literally, the first thing I saw was it's made of cheese. And then the second thing was, somebody actually trying to give some scientific viewpoint of maybe there was something in the regolith dirt that we didn't know was already there, or something to that effect.
You
So
think they're going to say there's water? Or there's a
That's what I
possibility of
also
water?
read. I read that there's
Could be.
probably, yeah,
That's what I'm wondering, because that's the only thing that I can think of that in my scientific knowledge base that I can dip into in my head. I'm sure there are people who have much larger ones. Is that it would be water?
hmm
Like I can't, because that would be. I mean, that would be cool.
yeah, that would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
Um,
Truly.
Yeah,
Because there are the dried up. They call them lake beds, right? Like
Mhm.
it's tranquility and serenity and knowledge and a whole bunch of other ones that have Latin names, but they're
Yeah.
not really lake beds. I don't, or they were at one point. Man, I don't know. I'm getting myself into territory I don't know about. Backing out, leaving.
Not touching that one. But
No.
well, I think there are those meteor impact craters that don't fully get
Yes.
by the sun, so the bottom of them could be frozen. So that might be
Yeah, that's
discussing.
possible. The dark side, because it's
Mhm.
tidal locked to the earth, so there's always one side that we'll never see. That is cold, very cold. So
It
yeah,
could be that
I mean, I
Chinese
think it's water.
rover found something over there that they're now like sharing as part of like a, who knows. But figured I'd
Oh,
get your
yeah.
kind of viewpoint on, let's guesstimate here on what we thought it was.
My money's on water. Henna's is on cheese.
no, what the heck? I'd also have. I think water would be phenomenal.
That
I
would
was
be cool.
I was reading in one
That's
of the
me.
articles that there was that there's a scientist, a part of the mission, who has a PhD in a of uh, specific way of detecting water molecules. So using a different type of technology. I don't remember what it was, but I remember scanning the headlines and seeing that earlier today.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I find it interesting how some people don't know that there's different types of ice that aren't just water throughout.
Yes, that's why they call it water ice.
Mm-hmm.
If they find water ice, like it's, I think it's on Pluto. The ice is like there's snow, but it's methane,
Mm-hmm.
or it's Venus. Is it Venus? It might be it's Pluto. I watched too many space
Yeah, that
documentaries,
is.
and now I'm combining them in my head. I think it's no, it can't be Venus. It's way too hot. It's got to be Pluto.
Like Titan. It's
Venus is
methane,
really
isn't it?
hot.
Yeah, Venus can melt lead,
Yeah.
so that doesn't make sense. I'm backing this out again.
It could be
It's gotta
Titan
be
because
the
I know
one.
Titan has methane, like liquid methane on it.
I think it was Pluto. I think there's snow on Pluto, and that they can actually like it's methane snow, so they can light it. I'm pretty sure.
On Pluto?
Yes,
Maybe.
I'm gonna Google it because if
Let's-
I'm wrong, we
let's
should
see
just
it.
cut this all out. Methane snow on Pluto.
I know Venus gets really hot, but I also thought it got pretty cold in
Yes.
some parts.
According to a CNN article, Pluto's snow-capped mountains look like they belong on Earth, but researchers have discovered that the snowy tops of these features are actually made of methane frost. My monitor's over here.
Nice.
Yeah, so there are snow-capped mountains on Pluto, but it's methane snow. And I
Yeah.
watched a Nova documentary on it. I'm pretty sure it was Nova. And it's neat because it looks like snow and then they light it on fire. It's like the mysteries of Pluto or something. It might be a series. I don't know. I was watching it with my dad. It's really interesting though.
I have had people speak with me before that was just like, 3:00 in the morning, I'm deployed with somebody and we're having random conversations that most people probably wouldn't be able to hear. But I was like, did you know there's different types of ices? And they're like, no, there's not. And then we went to a whole tirade onto how there actually is. So
There's different kinds of ice. That's why if it's water, it's called water ice, which sounds silly, but there is a purpose. Whenever I hear it, it makes me want to laugh, but I understand why they're saying it because it's important.
Yeah.
a lot of people also don't know there's ice on Mars too, because they think Mars is just some desolate planet, but the
Yes.
poles have tons of ice.
Oh yeah.
It's really neat.
Mm-hmm.
More
Mars
than
is
like
even.
you were talking about to make resources for methane-based fuels and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, exactly, that's why it's so important that they found this methane snow on Pluto, because that burns. Like, who knows what we could do with that?
Yep.
You were about to say something before Henna, though. You seemed like you had a.
Oh yeah, Mars. I'm just excited about Mars. Mars also has.
Hannah loves Mars.
Who doesn't occupy it? You know.
We all do. Hannah really loves Mars, though.
Mars has these fluvial channels that are billions of years old, and a lot of math that's been done by these scientists show that they could have very well held rivers, rivers of water. So also very exciting and interesting.
Yeah. Super cool.
I don't know if you've online. There's a guy I follow and a colleague of his who's done research with him, Antonio Paris. He does research on the lava tubes on Mars.
Oh yeah, is he on Twitter?
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure I follow his Twitter.
Yeah, him and
it's a cool Twitter.
yeah, he's got a lot of interesting stuff that he posts. Him and Lawrence Tognaia, a guest I've had on the show before, they did some like analog research out in Nevada, Arizona, or something like that regarding like the lava tubes. And the last time I interviewed him, we were kind of discussing some of that research. They have a whole paper that they published and stuff about it.
Oh, it's so cool. Interesting.
It's really neat stuff.
Anne and I were doing some research for one of our episodes, and we were learning about perseverance and how for the tools, like the different tools that they have on the rover, they do also analog missions in Nevada, basically anywhere desolate, so they can test out their imaging equipment. And yeah, it's very interesting.
It is. It's super cool.
It's cool that we can have environments here that almost assimilate what we would find in those places. So
yeah.
I mean, it's interesting that we can kind of try to match terrain. Like we obviously can't get similar atmospheric conditions because it's very different. I don't know why I have to justify that. Should have just left it, but it's too late now.
It's out there. Yeah.
But you could try to mimic terrain. It's actually interesting if you looked at I think some of the scientists when they were working on Curiosity and Perseverance were trying to figure out the best recipe to get similar sand to the density that there is on Mars, to try to figure out to be will the wheels work? Will it get through obstacles? It's really it's people's jobs to be all right, how do we make similar sand to Mars?
Yeah. Actually,
I bet it's fun and frustrating.
They also have to practice teamwork. You wouldn't think about this, but there's so many scientists and engineers
that were 90. Was it there?
It was on the order of 100 or something. And
a lot of people.
A lot of people are involved. A lot of people, want their instrument to be collecting data first.
Mm-hmm.
So another reason why they have the analog missions, believe it or not, is to practice communication and collaboration between the team because it's so giant.
Yeah, I couldn't.
Yeah, those instruments cost billions in totals by the time it gets there and all that other stuff. So you do not want something failing because you didn't test it.
Oh, definitely.
Well, also, if you've dedicated your career to this thing, I'd be right there. I'd be like, me, front of the line. Hello. I get it. And then they're there's 40 other people who have also dedicated their lives to this.
Right? I don't care about you drilling into Mars. I just care about the images on the surface.
Yeah. Can we get oxygen from what is it, Moxie?
Moxie, yeah.
And then there was Sherlock and Watson, my two favorites.
Yes.
Simply because they have the best names. No other reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I really need a different one, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the drill on Perseverance is... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
The drill is cool too.
Yeah, you're speaking. You go ahead.
Oh, the drill is really cool. It's supposed to dig the deepest that we have ever dug for a sample of Mars. So
yes, that's also cool. It's all cool.
Throw it in there.
Yeah, I wonder how the person who built the mirror assembly on Hubble and stuff felt when they got the first images and they're all blurry and well, crap.
Yeah, that had to be a mad day.
Yeah.
But at the same point, we fixed it. We got it there. It's okay now. That because you don't know. Again, space is hard.
Space is hard, and the bad days make the good days even better.
Even better. Like Pluto, Juno, that it actually lost telemetry. Like the day before or 2 days before it was supposed to reach Pluto. They had put too much strain on the system, and so it had gone into safe mode and wasn't actually going to have the ability to take pictures. It was I wish this documentary was great.
I feel like we
But
should
I
watch
didn't
this
realize
documentary
that.
as a podcast reviewing thing here.
This whole thing is just a trailer for this documentary. But I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that it lost telemetry. It was like 48 hours before it was supposed to get to Pluto, and it went into safe mode and would not have had the ability to take images of Pluto. They think all the engineers slept there. They brought them cots. They slept at their desks until they could get it until they were able to fix it. Like I was watching this and I truly couldn't imagine what that must have been like. And then it worked. They got it, obviously. So
what do you both think will go down as like a scarier moment in space history? When Neil stepped off the lander on the moon and they thought maybe they would sink, or they'd be enveloped by the sand or whatever the case was, or the first time that people step off onto Mars. What do you think will go down as like the scarier one?
I'm going to go the moon. Simply because like we genuinely didn't know if, like, when they brought them back, they quarantined them. Like they quarantined Buzz and Neil. I bet they quarantined Collins too, just because he was with everybody. Collins was there too.
Yeah.
He was there. He matters. He was integral, like, to the mission success. But they didn't know if they were going to get some like moon sickness. Like we truly didn't know. Previous to that, like there was a period of time where they didn't know if people could even eat in space or if you would just choke and die. Like they didn't know. And to me, it's less scary because we're fairly confident they're not going to fall through the surface of Mars. But I don't want to make it sound like it's any less of an accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know. Henna, what do you think?
I'm in Anna's boat. I was going to say that I don't think it's scarier I don't think there's as much fear from the unknown. I think there's more fear from the engineering feat, like
will they
the
make
technical rigor of this mission. Will they make it, and will they come back?
Yeah, like the Mars atmosphere is really intense. Landing on that will be a feat. It's always a feat, but to land people.
Yeah.
Yes, 7 minutes of hell, as they say, right?
Yeah, and that's just for a rover, which is not important, but it's not people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So. Exactly.
Especially if you consider the new maneuver, if, let's say, SpaceX is the one to go there first with people, that they're going to be doing the belly flop maneuver through the atmosphere. Like
that thing's crazy.
So.
Yeah.
It's going to be a wild ride for whoever's on it. Because I know I was reading something the other day that they were speaking that the landing was actually overshot on the moon because of a canister, and the pressure on that canister pushed it like miles off their landing course. So they landed in an area that was really rocky instead of a flat, tranquil space.
Yeah. They almost didn't make it on the lunar.
And then one of the legs crushed the landing core, so it was all squished down, and they had to jump kind of. So there's all types of stuff. They had no idea what they were doing. They're just like, let's see if this works.
It's insane. I mean, to an extent, we know more, but we don't know all that much more.
Yeah, we just continue to go after harder problems.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we can kind of, since we're already on Mars, I figure we can kind of maybe wrap it up with like this final kind of thought is, do you think that let me think how to put this here. Do you think that space exploration should be done because it's hard? Or do you also agree that we should focus on some of the Earth stuff instead of space? Like, I'll phrase it. I'm the type of person that thinks that space travel enhances our viability on Earth. So I kind of want to see how you both feel on that.
Henna, do you want to take this one first?
Oh yeah. I definitely think that uh, we need to, I think space, exploring space and what you said, Michael, about should we be focusing on Earth? It by exploring space, we also are solving a lot of problems on Earth. Going after these hard problems and working on these engineering challenges not only helps us expand our understanding of the multiverse around us, but also in that process, we're accomplishing these really challenging problems. And it's all math and science that we take away and we can apply elsewhere here on Earth. NASA actually has a really great website for spin-off technology.
Mhm.
And it's basically a list of these different Earth-based um, products that we use now that have come from NASA's efforts for us to go into space.
Memory foam.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's yes, that's very, I mean the
yeah,
same
that's a
thing if
great
you look
one.
at, yeah, that is a really good one. And I mean the same thing applies if you think about most technology that you have in your home was not originally designed for you. A
Yeah,
cell phone was not originally designed for you. Like a
As a
wireless
military
cell
thing.
phone. Yeah, exactly. The Iridium network, it was intended for the military, especially like people on ships in the middle of the ocean. It was not meant for you,
Hmm.
right.
but now it's for everybody. Everybody has it. Even um, I think, to me, and I don't know, as a person of science, I'm probably a little biased, and I'm a lot biased. I'll admit that. I think technology is where growth is. Like even just we can't we can't eliminate our dependence on fossil fuels without technological growth,
Hmm.
further technological growth than we have now. And I think technology is just, I mean, there's so much amazing opportunity to grow there. And again, like
Mhm.
Henna said, it will come back to help the earth. Like I think there is, it's a very, and I understand why people think that too. Like if you care so much about space, you don't care about Earth, and that's not true. For Henna or I, we both
Mhm.
very much care about our planet, but we also think space is important.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think the things we've done in space have actually been some of the only reasons why we've attained this level of sophistication that we have right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's even if you were to go back 100 years ago and tell people that we were possibly going to send people to Mars,
Yeah,
like it
wild.
would, yeah. And who knows 100 years from now what we'd be doing?
Oh, yeah.
Like it's just, or
Yeah,
even if
100.
you were to be
Yeah,
like, you're gonna have a TV in your wall. It's gonna be huge and really small, and you won't have to have cable. Like, and everything's in color. Like,
imagine telling
Absolutely.
was it Katherine Johnson, the
yes,
lady who did all the calculation, one of the ladies, that group of them who did the calculations. Imagine telling her that this thing right here can do everything you just did in a few seconds.
she actually was like a huge proponent, like she for computers,
Hmm.
which is just
Yeah, she's like one of
like
the first ones to learn it, right?
like it's just even just remember when I was in school, we had one computer per classroom
Hmm.
Yeah.
for a period, and then if you wanted to use the computer, you had to go to the computer lab, and we had like I don't know computer class once a week or something.
Hmm.
Um, and it was never or like if you look at houses now, like a lot of houses have a spot in the kitchen where the counter is lower because that's where the family computer used to sit.
Hmm.
Like it was like these are not even old houses.
Right. Yeah.
Like I don't know. I think there's so much amazing technological advancement. I also I don't want it to make it sound like I think there can also be dangerous technological advancement, but I think
Mhm.
there can be so much wonderful beneficial technological advancement. Um, and I think space travel is a wonderful way to help forward that. agenda.
Yeah,
I don't like the word
absolutely.
agenda. Agenda sounds so cynical. I don't know why.
That goal, we could say.
Goal.
Yeah, that's a
Goal.
much better word.
I was actually fortunate enough to interview the one of the guys who his father was one of the ones who started the initial satellite constellations.
Interesting.
He was one of the guys who was like the project guy who designed and built some like the first satellites that went up. And
So
his dad
interesting.
was like the father of GPS basically. And we got to discuss
That's
the
incredible.
entirety of how originally it was for to see if things will even work up there, but also to track, possibly nuclear weapons up in space and then all this other stuff. And then how it bled down from military applications to civilian, which almost every technology does nowadays.
Like, we're probably the last generation that remembers, like, if you wanted to go somewhere, you, like, went to MapQuest and you typed in where you started and where you were going.
Wasn't that long ago I used MapQuest, I'm
No,
not
and you
gonna lie.
printed them out.
Printed it.
And then you also had to do the reverse, because reading MapQuest directions reverse is actually really hard.
Yeah.
So you had to do it the other way. And if you like weren't sure if you missed the exit or not, you didn't know for like a while.
Oh,
Like,
definitely. Yeah.
you were like, was it that one back there? Is it this one that has kind of a similar name? Like,
So
and
you're holding up your
now,
paper like exit 32. Yeah, I think I'm right. Okay.
yeah. Or like, oh man, darn. I was watching this show. I makes it sound like I watch a lot of TV.
You're fine, Anna.
There's not a whole lot else to do.
Right.
Very true.
You're being
There's
responsible by staying inside.
Thank you.
Watching
There's a TV show
documentaries.
This is not a documentary. It's a TV show on PBS called Cobra. It's very good. It's a BBC show, and it's essentially about like there is a possibility there could be a solar storm that could wipe out power to a significant portion of the Earth. And I was like, oh my god, like
Wow.
I should buy a paper map, like because I wouldn't be able to get anywhere.
That's such a good point.
Yeah, I was like, oh no. I was watching the show. I was like, I should buy a map, like a physical copy. Like, I don't own an almanac. Like,
Yeah. There's so many times where I'm so grateful for Google Maps in my car. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, or even just like being able to check the fastest way to get to your destination. Like, what's
Oh,
traffic
yeah.
like?
Right.
So nice.
Especially when I consider my car, I'm not bragging by saying I own a Tesla, but
We saw that on Twitter.
yeah. But right now it's in the shop because it had an issue. But that's they're taking care of it. It's not a big deal. But especially something like that where it'll do the navigating, it'll tell you where you need to stop for how long, and all sort of stuff. Like 20 years ago, people thought you were insane if you're going to say a car could do that. So
my mom has like a plug-in Prius, like a Prius Prime, and it's really nice. Yeah, like the screen and everything. But the first time I drove it, I was like trying to use the audio command, and I don't remember where I was like, go home, and it would just be like, closest Days Inn. It was like, come on. It was like a
close
episode of a bad sitcom. I was like,
oh
I thought we improved. It's actually really good.
Drunk, right? Yeah.
Yeah, my mom can do it. It picks up her voice. But there, yeah. I mean, just like even I remember my first car. Like I had to burn CDs. There was I had to plan what music I wanted to listen to, and then you listen to those 20 songs. Like,
Bluetooth, amazing.
Yeah.
The fact that it would be like you could have an infinite amount of music at your control whenever for like $9.99 a month for the price of a CD. Like,
yeah.
And then obviously worrying about, are these songs that you're getting legal and then all that stuff, where nowadays you just stream everything.
Yeah, not even a question. Spotify's hopefully not going to give me a virus. Please don't give me a virus.
Well, it's not LimeWire, so I think we're good to go. But
God, yeah.
I remember,
I just remember whenever I think of Napster, I think of like The Social Network. Did you ever watch that movie?
Yep.
Justin Timberlake plays the Napster guy.
I forget his name. Sean something Parker.
I know it's Sean. I don't remember his last name is though.
Yeah, we try and school our kids all the time on like you have no idea how good you have even just in the small period I've been alive. You know, where like you picked up the phone and you kicked somebody off the internet and you're pissed because you waited 5 minutes for it to connect and now it won't. So like you guys have no idea how
dial
good it
up.
is.
Yeah.
God, or even just like we had a TV. We had one TV, and if you wanted to watch the TV, you had to compromise with your sibling or your parents, like because you were watching the TV and whatever was live at the time, not like whatever you wanted, whatever was currently playing.
That's right.
I have no idea if this, technology and TV, probably the microprocessor, I guess, but like has anything to do with space stuff. But I just put down that everything has come from that. So that's my thought.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so many technological advancements get applied to eventually what you have at home.
Definitely.
And just like anything else, like we even said at the beginning of the show, anything hard is worth, going for, right? So they're, space travelers are, and will be like the explorers of old where they're pushing frontiers and people are bound to get hurt and people are bound to die. It's just what we have to accept and just move on.
Yeah. It doesn't make it. I mean, I appreciate
Yeah, I mean, it's sad no matter what way you go about it, but it's just something you accept the risk and you move on.
We don't know what we're going to find. Like we could find resources that become incredibly valuable and incredibly helpful to us on Earth. Like we truly don't know.
Yeah.
Like we don't know.
Yeah, I don't think us being afraid of something bad happening should stop us from exploring space. Which a lot of people are like, oh, the people who have died should be alone enough to stop the space program. I'm like, well, if we had done that, then we wouldn't have 99% of the stuff we have nowadays. So, what's the point of that? As sad as it is that they passed away, but it just is what it is. Do we have something that we could be looking forward to from you guys, from your podcast? Anything else?
Yeah, we are working on an episode right now all about space food. So if you're curious,
of course,
tune in next Tuesday. No, Tuesday after that.
Some Tuesday in the future, and that's the date I'll put for you.
Future Tuesday. Yeah. So we're working on that. And then we, like Henna said, we did our spooky month of October. So check that out.
That's right. We just released an episode this week all about Area 51. So we had a lot of fun this month with some still aerospace engineering-esque, but also very heavy on the conspiracy theories.
It was fun. We talked about Roswell and just essentially where they came from. It was interesting. It's just interesting to learn about where these, I guess now infamous myths, in a way, come from.
And how involved the military was with them.
Yes. It was really interesting.
Very cool.
Yeah. What about you? What's coming down the pipeline for you?
Just, finding more guests to interview and just keeping it rolling, basically. It's not something that I like try and like hound people about. So it's just like, hey, if you want to come on, cool. If not, that's cool too.
Oh, we're honored.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Michael. This was a great time.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate both of you taking time out of your evening and out of your busy jobs that you have to come and speak with me.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
And where can people find you at online, just so they know exactly where to go?
You can find us on our website at butitisrocketscience.com. We have an About Us page if you want to learn more about us. We have a Contact Us page too. If you want to hit us up, give us ideas for future episodes. Tell us if you liked Spooky Month. And then we have an Instagram at butitisrocketscience, and we have a Twitter at butitisrs. And a Facebook page? Yes, we have a Facebook page, But It Is Rocket Science. Henna, did I forget anything?
Anna, you got it. You always kill this.
I'll make sure I spell it out for everybody in like the description of the video of all the places they can find you and your podcast name and all that type of stuff.
That would be awesome. Yes, our podcast is called But It Is Rocket Science. And you have to add that emphasis or it doesn't count.
That's right.
For sure.
Thanks, Michael. We appreciate it.
No problem.
We did. We had an awesome time.